In November and December, many folks were asking, where's El Nino? Where's the rain? Where's the cold? Where's the snow? Sometimes you just have to be patient and those questions answer themselves. And for the first couple weeks of January, we're going to get way more than we wanted. So let's buckle up because it's getting busy. And we got a lot to talk about in this Monday edition of the Texas Weather Roundup and beyond. Good morning. It is Monday, the 8th of January, 2023. I'm Texas Storm Chasers Baldy-in-Chief David Reimer. We've got a lot to talk about over the next several days, but first I want to thank everybody who's been watching these videos, giving us that big old thumbs up, and subscribing to Texas Weather Center on YouTube. We're going to be busy over the next several days. Today, next 24 to 36 hours, winds, blizzard, severe storms with the potential for a tornado threat, rain, and then later this week, more of the same. And then next week, the coldest air so far this winter, and it could be a doozy with its own interesting set of conundrums in the precipitation frozen department. Yeah. I'm not going to be sleeping much. Let's get that. Yeah. All right, let's talk about the most common hazard today, and that's going to be winds. Outside of snow, outside of storms, outside of rain, these are gradient winds caused by an intensifying cyclone on the plains of the United States. It's going to be going up into the Great Lakes and creating a ruckus. In fact, it's probably going to result in a tornado outbreak tonight into tomorrow across the southeastern United States. We're going to have a bunch of rain and wind on the eastern seaboard, a blizzard in the Great Lakes, and we're at the onset of it, the incipient phase. All right, so winds. Guadalupe Mounds, Trans-Pecos, Davis Mounds. Pecos, Alpine, Sanderson. Winds 60, 75 miles an hour at times, gusting today. Panhandle, Texas Panhandle. Winds 55, 65, maybe pushing 70 at times today. With snow, I might add. That's going to make things problematic. Western half of Texas, 40 to 50 mile an hour wind gusts by this evening. Eastern half of Texas, outside of storms, it's going to be windy, 35 to 45 mile an hour winds, with those winds getting worse tonight into Tuesday morning. We could have winds 45 to 50 on the backside of the departing storm system. All right, let's take a look at the high-res rapid refresh model. This is going to be for today, tonight, Tuesday morning. Now, we're going to have a lot to talk about here. This is one of the times we're covering 254 counties. That's how many we have in Texas, by the way. There's your fun fact of the Monday. Can be a disadvantage because we have to talk about the cold side and the stormy warm side. Let me start off by saying this is going to be the overview phase. We're going to talk about the timing of everything, and then we're going to go into the specifics of each hazard. And yes, we're going to be dealing with multifaceted issues. Blizzard on the cold side, severe thunderstorm potential on the warm side. Let's get to it. Snow phase. Light snow showers increasing in intensity and coverage this morning across the Panhandle of Texas, generally along and north of Interstate 40. The heaviest snows up on the Oklahoma Panhandle border. We could see heavy snow by late morning this afternoon. Banded, so we may see fairly drastic changes in snow accumulations over short distances, but the worst off could be over 6 inches, especially Dalhart east of Perryton up into the Oklahoma Panhandle. Winds 50 to 60 to 70 miles an hour at times will create whiteout conditions, a full-blown happy doodle blizzard. That means absolutely no travel is advised up there while it's going on and afterwards, because those winds will continue into tonight, even after the snow stops falling, creating ground blizzard conditions. You do not want to be stranded outside of a town, unable to get help because you're in a blizzard. This is the kind of situation where 100 years ago, you'd have folks walking to wherever, freezing to death because they literally get lost in a whiteout. We don't need anybody doing that today or tonight. So please be mindful of that and do not plan on traveling. All right, warm side, line of showers, storms, Wichita Falls, Abilene, Edwards Plateau by the time you watch this video, or it comes out early this morning, 6, 7 a.m. That line of showers, storms will move east across North Texas, late morning, early afternoon, Central Texas, late morning, early afternoon, Arklatex, East Texas, Southeast Texas this afternoon, this evening. Line of storms will intensify as it moves east, and the potential for damaging straight-line winds, small hail. Can't rule out a spin-up tornado with that line, especially across Southeast Texas, East Texas, this afternoon, this evening. A complication is the potential for prefrontal supercells late this morning, this afternoon across Southeast Texas, the Golden Triangle. A conditional threat, but one that could end up being significant if it occurs with all modes of severe weather. That does include the potential for tornadoes, spinny doom-dooms, damaging straight-line winds. We could even have big hail with that activity. Some models trending up in instability. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute. Forecast snow accumulations this morning, this afternoon. Again, potential for accumulating snow 2 to 5 inches, highest north of Interstate 40, especially up by the Oklahoma Texas Panhandle border. Clay, New Mexico, Dalhart, Texas, Stratford, Texas, Perryton, Texas, up to Boise City, Guymon, Oklahoma. And again, banding effects mean there may be pockets that are quite heavier than what's shown on this graphic, while folks 5 miles south may only see snow flurries. And again, blizzard conditions are expected, which is why blizzard warnings are in effect. Even down on Interstate 40, Tucumcari, New Mexico, over to Hereford, Amarillo, Pampa, we may not see more than half an inch or an inch of snow, if that, but it's going to be blown around with all that wind, reducing visibility. So again, just like we saw a few days ago, best chance for accumulating snows, northern Panhandle. Storm chasers Adam Lucio and Chelsea Burnett are out there today. We'll have live video from them, once again, just like Miss Burnett provided the other day. So be sure to tune to Texas Storm Chasers YouTube channel for that. We'll have video from that. And unlike the system a few days ago, this one's going to have a lot of wind. All right, let's look at the severe weather outlook. This is for this morning, this afternoon from the Storm Prediction Center. Now, we have the highest potential, relatively, for scattered severe thunderstorms, including the possibility of a few tornadoes. Southeast Texas, this has been expanded a bit north into the Brazos Valley, the piney woods of East Texas, generally speaking. College Station, Bryan, Lufkin, south to the Gulf Coast. The potential, again, conditional for scattered supercells late this morning through this afternoon. If we are able to get temperatures into the low to mid 70s, which it looks like we may, the question is how far inland will that make it? Will that gradient stay right on Interstate 10, or will it make it up towards Jasper, Lufkin? Farther inland that unstable air mass at the low levels makes it, the more folks could be under the gun with some threat for tornadoes. And again, we're going to have scattered showers and storms ahead of that line. The question is, are they just going to be, maybe some hailers, some strong winds? Or are we going to have full-fledged, very unhappy supercells? And again, the amount of wind shear available for all this is extreme. That's not questionable. We're going to have more spin than we would ever want to see. If storms are able to utilize that, we're going to have problems. So again, keep an eye out, but it is not a guaranteed big-time issue, but it could be. So we're going to be watching very closely. It's a conditional threat. More likely, we're going to have that line of storms come on in from the west this afternoon, this evening. That'll make some damaging wind gusts over 60 miles an hour down, some hail, perhaps, maybe a spin-up tornado. Notice we've got that isolated level 1 risk all the way back into the eastern big country, Texoma, North Texas, Central Texas, into the Arklatex, East Texas. That's for the potential for damaging straight-line winds being brought down to the surface with that line of thunderstorms. Can't totally rule out a spin-up tornado at the wind shear, but more likely than not, the tornado threat will remain confined to Southeast Texas. For what it's worth, if we end up seeing a more unstable air mass in Southeast Texas, especially in the low levels, it is entirely possible we're going to see this risk upgraded further and the tornado risk itself upgraded from low to medium. And again, this is just something we're going to watch for. But I want you to be prepared just in case. I'm not saying we're going to have, 20 tornadoes or a long track violent tornado, but the potential is certainly there. We could be dealing with problems. So we're going to watch. All that'll be moving east to Texas by this evening. All right, back to the forecast rain totals for the next several days. Really, just today, let's be honest here. Rain totals have come up a bit. Eastern third of Texas, we could see 1 to 1.5 inches of rain. The Arklatex, East Texas, the Piney Woods of East Texas down to Southeast Texas, the Golden Triangle. The potential for over 1/2 inch of rain. Wichita Falls down to Mineral Wells, down to Killeen, Austin, Houston Metro points east. Lighter totals farther west, and that precipitation up in the Panhandle, whatever snow falls, that'll melt down eventually to the liquid equivalent of 1/10 to 1/4 inch of rain. So overall, the potential for localized flooding issues, especially when that heavier band of rain moves through this afternoon and this evening, but we are not expecting a high impact widespread flooding event thanks to the fast storm motions and the relatively limited rainfall amounts compared to, what we could see in the summer. I mean, we'd see that amount of rain in, 10 minutes in the summer? Good gravy. All right, temperatures over the next several days. We'll take a look at this before we deal with the extended range forecast, which is equally interesting, unfortunately. High temperatures today, probably 90 degrees, deep South Texas, the Rio Grande Valley, with temperatures not getting above freezing in the Texas Panhandle. Quite a gradient for sure. Cold front moves through on the backside of the system tonight. Tomorrow we're going to see temperatures generally in the 40s and 50s along the north of Interstate 10, southeast Texas, not getting above freezing where we have a snowpack in the Panhandle. Otherwise, 40s West Texas down to the Trans-Pecos, far West Texas. 48 tomorrow on El Paso. Still low to mid-60s, deep South Texas, the Rio Grande Valley. Quick recovery on Wednesday. We see southerly winds return. Highs in the 70s. Edwards Plateau, deep South Texas, to the coastal bend. 66 in San Antonio and Houston and Austin. It looks like Metroplex looks like lower to mid 60s. Same thing for the big country. Cooler Panhandle into the higher terrain of far west Texas and the Arklatex Thursday. 60s, 70s to lower 80s. Southeastern 2/3 of Texas, still 40s, 50s, Panhandle, West Texas. And then we deal with a cold front coming in on the backside of our next storm system. Generally speaking, this one could bring the onslaught of much colder air to the Panhandle, Oklahoma, where temperatures may not get above freezing on Friday. 40s, 50s, northern half of Texas, again, depending on the timing of this cold front. That may be a bit generous. And we're just going to have to wait and see. If you've been listening to any sort of weather the last couple of weeks, you've heard crashy, the cold front, super duper crazy cold air mass coming to the United States over the weekend next week, and that is somewhat true. We are going to see extremely cold temperatures to our north. The question is just how much of that's going to filter south into Texas before it gets cut off. If you're going north, it is going to be ridiculously cold, like way below zero cold. So it's an impressive cold snap, no doubt. But for Texas specifically, is this 2021 again? No, very unlikely. 2021 was probably a generational event in regards to nearly the entire state being at or below zero. The entire state was under a winter storm warning. We had ice and snow cover down to Mexico, and that helped bring crazy cold temperatures. Let's take a look at some probabilities. First off, next storm system, by the way, chance of precipitation, eastern half of Texas, nearly 50 to 100% for some measurable precipitation. We note that arc extending back into the Panhandle, West Texas. That would be snow, so at least some chance for snow. We'll deal with all that, Thursday night, Friday, after we get past today, and then we could see another winter storm type event early next week, maybe the northern half of Texas. Now, this is going to be something we don't normally show here, but I want to explain how weather model data works in ensemble land. What you're looking at here, and I will detail this in much more specificality, is that even a word? In terms of the numbers, you're not going to be able to read them, I can. But what we're looking at is a ensemble output of the temperatures, the low temperatures next, I believe this is next Tuesday. So yeah, the 16th of January, next Tuesday. I'm putting it on my big screen here. And this is a ensemble showing the 10th percentile the lowest of the low, the worst case scenario for low temperatures, the 90th percentile, so the high-end temperatures, and then the mean is your background. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is to explain that it is not a surefire bet we're going to be dealing with super crazy cold temperatures in the entire state over the weekend and early next week. Low temperatures Thursday. So, let me explain this. 51 different weather models initialized under slightly different parameters, all run out and then compiled into this data set. Amarillo, the 10th percentile, so the quote-unquote reasonable worst-case scenario for how cold it could get. 3 degrees Tuesday morning of next week. The 90th percentile, so I guess the least worst, the other side of the spectrum. 28 degrees. So there you go. You have a 25-degree temperature spread. Just to show you, we're not dealing with something that is surefire, crazy cold at this point. Could this change? Yes. Is it going to get cold? Yes. Is it going to get really ridiculously record cold? It's way too soon to say. Example, Dallas Love Field. Worst case reasonable scenario for Tuesday morning right now, 13 degrees. That is very cold, but that is not 2021 cold. That was the high temperature in 2021, the February event. The 90th percentile is 38 degrees. That's not even a freeze. All right, let's go to Austin. 18 degrees for the 10th percentile, 49 degrees for the 90th percentile for low temperatures next Tuesday. San Antonio, 21 degrees, the 10th percentile, 51 for the 90th percentile. Houston, Intercontinental, 20 degrees for your 10th percentile, the reasonable worst case scenario for how cold it could get, with 57 degrees as your 90th percentile. And the reason I'm telling you all this is simply to say, yes, it's going to get cold. No, we cannot tell you how cold. And at this point, it is unlikely to be a February 2021 holy moly guacamole repeat. That was likely a generational event. So the whole polar vortex spiel may be applicable to the northern plains. Make no mistake, it is going to be extremely cold up there. It's up there. That is not us. I want to make it abundantly clear for most folks in Texas, this is not a 2021 repeat. It is going to get cold. It is winter. Every few years, we deal with very cold. This may be that. It is entirely possible we do have snow and ice early next week, maybe the northern half of Texas. Yeah, a lot of people. But guess what? It's El Nino this happens. It is unlikely we're going to be dealing with a crazy polar vortex with Antarctica or the North Pole relocating over Oklahoma and Texas next week. It's going to get cold. Yes. It's going to get very cold. Probably for the Panhandle, Oklahoma, maybe the Red River. Yeah, we could be looking at very cold temperatures. A freeze. Probably the northern two-thirds, if not the entire state. But again, it is winter. We're not talking about, lows in the single digits or below zero in Houston or San Antonio and Austin. We're not talking about 35 degrees below zero in Amarillo or the Panhandle. We're not talking about highs not hitting zero in DFW. Let's be abundantly clear and realistic here. And if this changes and, we go towards that, I will tell you. But at this point, let's keep our expectations realistic. It is winter. It's going to get cold. For example, 39 degrees is the reasonable worst-case scenario in Brownsville right now, Tuesday morning, with the 90th percentile, 68 degrees. In all likelihood, yes, it's going to get cold, but hopefully my spiel here indicates that there's still confidence issues on just how cold it's going to get, when it's going to get cold, and more specifically, who may see snow and ice. El Nino, once it gets cold early next week, over the weekend, it does look like we're going to still be active. So yes, we probably are going to be talking snow and ice for more regions of Texas than just the Panhandle. But we can barely forecast a winter storm in the Panhandle 2 days in advance without completely changing the forecast. That's just because it's how difficult it is in Texas. A lot of factors have to come together to support snow here, and they don't usually line up versus further north where it's always cold. It's not that difficult to forecast snow up there when it's always below freezing. We don't have that luxury. So again, let's get through today before we deal with Friday's system and then the big kicker early next week. we're going to be busy. It's winter and El Nino. But please keep your expectations realistic. We're not going to sugarcoat it either. I mean, trust me, it's going to get cold. If it suddenly looks like we're going to be playing Holy Moly Guacamoleville, we're going to tell you. And then a lot of y'all are going to be like, but you know what? That's okay. It's you have in this profession, humble pie is a common dessert. And if it doesn't end up being thrown on my head at least 5 times a year, well, it's less entertaining for y'all. But that's what we're going to deal with. And as always, we'll be here for you. All right, we'll have another video. Well, probably, given today's activity, we'll have live severe weather coverage probably for any spinny doom mischief in southeast Texas, east Texas later on. We'll have live storm chasing video from Adam and Chelsea in the Panhandle. And we're going to be busy with more storm systems and cooler air later this week. So stay tuned. It's a great time to download the free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app, interactive weather radar, daily Texas weather roundups, and more. Further video updates as necessary, so please stay weather aware, and we'll keep you updated. Have a good Monday. God bless.